Welcome back to another episode of Big Boys. You know, here at Big Boys, we like to joke around a lot, but we also pride ourselves on having rich, intellectual discourse. We're not afraid to ask the tough questions, such as, how do doctors choose their specialties? Join Brian and I, JTG, in our search for the answer on this episode of Big Boys.
This episode of the Big Boys Podcast is brought to you in part by our very own podcasting platform, Anchor. Anchor is a great podcasting platform and has all the resources for every type of podcaster out there, whether big or small, tall or not tall. Whether you're just starting out or you've been podcasting since the dawn of time, Anchor is a great platform and uses all sorts of great things. All the tools you need to make a perfect podcast. Yes, that's right, I said perfect, because that's what Anchor brings. Perfect podcasting for every podcaster who longs to be perfect. Anyways, back to our show. Imagine a man who was reluctant to take notes when I told him. A man who doesn't really... comprehend is not the right word, but listen. A man who is impaired when it comes to listening to others. Like, for instance, I literally checked on him the day before we put out this last episode. I gave him notes on what to edit with it. And I contacted him the next day, and he absolutely forgot that we had that conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, all my big boys and big girls, this is the man that I work with. This is where I reside in the Twilight Zone, hosting the Big Boys Podcast with a man who gave himself a nickname. That man is none other than John the Great. Sorrels, are you still setting up?
Well, I'm messing with these headphones.
Yeah?
Yeah, because for some reason, you're kind of soft and only like in one ear.
If I had a nickel for every time I heard that.
Yeah, I hear you.
So, but you have them on your head and you're hearing my voice come out of them?
I guess more or less.
Okay, then I say it's a win. I think we're good, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, then. Yeah, let's keep this train rolling right off the tracks. Let's keep this good time entertainment show going. Dude, what have you been up to this week, man?
Nothing much really. I wish I could say more than that, but it really hasn't been more than that.
Well, you just got back from the folks' place, right?
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
I didn't do a whole lot out there.
I mean, we, as an audience, can rightfully assume you existed with your parents that live out there, and two dogs. Is it? Do you guys have 2 dogs right now, or?
Yeah, there's 2 dogs.
And 2 dogs, and then how many chickens?
I don't know. They've got several.
Several chickens, not being currently eaten by foxes that we know of. Correct?
Oh, well, that's a day-by-day thing.
Sounds like a foxy situation.
Let's face it. I mean, chickens are not that high up on the food chain, a lot of people do it, and free-range chickens are really best, but goodness gracious, in our experience, maybe we're doing something wrong. Keeping some free-range chickens alive can be challenging.
I was going to say, I didn't even really fully put that together, but you guys do have free-range chickens.
To some degree. Yeah, we let them out during the day. I guess they for years we had them free-range. We let them out of the pen. They walked around, but for a while they just kept dying. So we built a new chicken coop in the backyard, and now we let them out in the backyard, which is fenced. But even then, you still have issues. Coyotes can hop that fence sometimes. Raccoons.
Yeah, which I guess the term.
Prey.
Yeah, the term free range is really kind of a loose term. You know what I mean? Basically, it just means it's not chickens in a coop in a factory. But
pretty much.
But
I guess they are.
The range isn't
an area.
I was going to say, yeah. Even the free range chicken, unfortunately, if you want that chicken to survive, he's got to have some stipulations. That chicken is on probation. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess if you were real serious about it, you would need a lot of people have livestock dogs. Like the Great Pyrenees is a great breed that protect livestock. And they
sound great.
Other predators away. Yeah, clever. I mean, they're aptly named.
Mm-hmm. What kind of dogs do you have now? Because
my parents don't have any good livestock dogs. They have a poodle and then a cavapoo.
First time I've ever heard of the term cavapoo.
It is a hybrid between a King Charles Cavalier Spaniel and a poodle.
I mean, these must be fairly new dogs, huh? Because
I guess. I mean, I think the Spaniel goes back a long ways. I think they were bred by like English royalty and stuff, but I think the Cavapoo is probably a newer breed, a designer breed, if you will.
I'm particularly saying in reference to your parents, the owners. These are new dogs to them.
No, the poodle they've had for a number of years.
Is that right?
Yeah, but the Cavapoo they got November of 21.
I see. Okay. I'm just going to assume that the poodle is more of an inside dog. Maybe that's why I haven't seen him around too much.
Yeah, because usually when you were over, we were outside.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But I want to say they got that poodle in like 2014, 2015.
Okay. So man, time flies.
Yeah, it does.
Good griefins.
So I had a subject that I would like to discuss because we here at the Big Boys Podcast, we pride ourselves on being Renaissance men, from all walks of life here. A jack of all trades, a master of none, if you will. So I wanted to discuss, I thought would make a great subject for this podcast, how doctors choose their professions.
Wham, bam, where the hell did this topic come from,
it came up with a guy at work the other day. Let me rephrase a little bit. It's more so how doctors choose their specialties. Somehow we got to talking about that. And we got to how much money doctors make, blah, blah. And we landed on like the age-old question. A lot of people have asked it. What makes somebody want to be a proctologist? Like you go all the way through medical school. You learn about human anatomy, everything from the mind, the body, all that. And with all the interesting things about the body, who is like, you know what? The asshole. That's the part I'm passionate about,
Well, okay. So here's the thing. I'm going to answer it in a three-parter. My takeaway from that is, first, you go through medical school, right? that ain't no cheap chunk of change here in America. You know?
And it's challenging, yeah.
And it's challenging. And you're going to want to, a part of the appeal of being a doctor in America, though, is eventually once you get through all those hurdles, it might stand to reason that you're going to make a fair buck or two. Is that fair to say? Yeah. I would think so.
Yeah. Of course, that's a major motivating factor is the doctors make good money.
For sure. And all the crass kinks aside, maybe that guy's just really into butts or whatever. Which I'm sure, hey, there might be one or two in the system, and kudos to them.
I would like to go on record and say I'm glad these professions exist. Like we need that. For people that have certain types of cancers or other medical issues, we need these doctors out there. I can't wrap my head around on like how you land on certain things. Like a gynecologist is another great example. Like, if you think about it longer than like the 5-second frat boy, he gets to deal with vaginas all day. Okay, yeah, but I guarantee you the vast majority of them are like let's face it, young, attractive people are generally healthy. He's dealing with like older women, pregnant women, women with conditions, diseases. It's not as attractive of a job as it sounds if you think about it for more than like 5 seconds. So again, how do you land on that?
So this brings me to the other two prongs of my answer. Obviously prong one is that it's totally a fetish, which is obviously, come on, it's got to be so very few and far in between. That sounds like a real wonder for a comedian or a podcaster to come upon, like a proctologist who's just like really into, like that's very unlikely, right? So the second one is that maybe that's a field that, when people decide to go into that profession, like they're having these conversations about that, and like, well, not as many people are looking to go into that particular field or that practice as a doctor. So therefore, the revenue for the income stands to reason, could be higher. I also don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Let's reiterate that every step of the way of answering this question. Yeah.
That's kind of what I was saying at the beginning. Basically, we don't know what we're talking about, but this is interesting as men who've lived lives and observed the world. I think we can weigh in here.
Yeah. Men who have lived lives and have seen very narrow versions of the world. So which stands to absolutely reason why we should be the ones giving the answers on this.
Hey, I'm not giving answers. I'm asking the questions here. That's what I'm saying is like, how does this happen? I'm open to answers.
Well, thanks. Now I remember why this was such a great idea for me to start a podcast with you, so I could just constantly be digging myself a hole every week. So you ask me problematic questions that I know literally nothing about.
This is what I want to start doing. I want to start coming up with a subject to talk about every week and go from there. Yeah.
Hey, honestly, I'm impressed, dude. I was not expecting this, and you know what? I'm slightly tickled. But I'm tickled as if like a proctologist had his thumb in my butt right now.
Right now, yeah. I mean, we're closer to 40 than we are 20. I hate to say, it's not going to be that long before that might actually have to happen.
Believe you me, I have been thinking about that. Another reason why maybe I should consider getting insurance again at some point.
Yeah.
But as long as you mentally think that you're closer to 20 and you're terrible at math and you have an art degree, it's like you're 20. So
hey, you know what? That qualifies you to have these kind of discussions. That's what I've been saying. Like
absolutely, yeah.
We are learned gentlemen. Like
yeah. I have been to multiple comedic improv schools, and I have a diuretic mouth. I know I should have my expertise in talking about this.
See, what did we talk about the other week? I get an associate's degree in general studies, immediately start questioning like mall architecture.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it goes.
Absolutely, man. And I'm glad that we were able to spring that memory back for you, that you have to be a pompous asshole.
Your words, not mine.
Yeah, well, I stand by them.
Okay, so I want to go on basically your point there about most of them probably don't have the kink. Okay, I can agree with that. Most of them probably don't.
So prong two is that more of a financial endeavor, which stands to reason, but again, I don't know.
Of course, yes.
I don't know all the different fields of what choices you could be in a doctor, which one makes more, which one doesn't. I'm just gonna guess. I'm just throwing and I'm not gonna research any further into it. I'm just gonna assume you can make more money as a proctologist than say being a ER doctor, or it requires less schooling. Because you don't have to. Well, I don't know shit about proctology. I don't know if there's like really invasive surgeries. I know it takes a real mastery of skill level to do like these, these open heart surgeries and stuff like that. And there's a lot of, factors that go into that can be highly stressful.
I'm fine with those guys making a lot of money. If I have to have like brain surgery, heart surgery, something like that, yeah, I'm fine with those guys making a lot of money. Like, I don't want some guy like, I mean, I guess I graduated. They're paying me cut rate.
But the also inherently lazy side of me, who says, and once again, don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. if I can make some similar, if maybe more, maybe almost as much as the guy who has to just train in day out and has to know all this stuff as a doctor and continue to like, I feel like I'm going to get burnt out if God willing, I went to medical school and made my way through there. I would get burnt out. And if there's a way I could, not have to keep up as much with these new, trends and modern miracles in science of what we can do, like with robotics and open heart surgery and stuff like that. If like, again, know nothing about being a proctologist, but if it's just like, I just got to know what a polyp feels like in somebody's buttocks, and like, there's not.
It's only one way to find out.
Yeah. And I could do that, and I can make almost as much as money, if not more, or the same as this open heart surgeon. The burnout version of me is going to be like, fuck yeah, let's just do that. Like, my God, I'd just like to come home some days and watch 7 hours of television, like I'm sure every doctor wants to.
Yeah, exactly.
Just wants to throw on 3 seasons of Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
And so there's that scenario, possibly. The other one I'm thinking is the real deep, meaningful reason, and the made for TV version of why you want to become a proctologist is someone really close to you, someone you really cared about. You lost them to the tragic whims of butt cancer.
See, I'm sure there is a certain degree of people that had that. They had a loved one that died of some disease of the anus, probably colon cancer.
And that's when this young doctor, before he was a doctor, hit his knees and spread his arm wide, like he was.
Oh, thank God! His arms. Yeah.
He spread his arms wide and vowed to spread his butt cheeks wide if necessary.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Yes, like a William. Yeah. Like a Willem Dafoe in Platoon with his arms spread wide and his butt cheeks flat to the side. He vowed to never let butt cancer win again.
So, okay. So 2 things here. So based on a quick Google search, and I want to say this, basically I looked at like 1 or 2 websites max, but it seems like as of in 2022, the top 5 highest paying medical specialties was plastic surgery, orthopedics, cardiology, ENT, and urology. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. With the exception of urology, because I don't know anything about that, and obviously I don't know anything about any of this stuff. But like on the surface level, I know that there is a it's almost like a well-defined trade with like I was saying with being an open heart surgeon or being a plastic surgeon. Like you have to have a very skilled hand.
Yeah, exactly. Very steady. Yeah.
And it's
attention to detail. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, and the only way I can compare this is for being a machinist for 2.5 years. And like I was a very low-level machinist, but I will say though, like you just to even get to the level that I was at working in a machine shop, like it is definitely a skilled trade. You definitely have to work that muscle, and build those calluses. And like it's weird because it's almost like you see like your hands have like a mind of like memory of like what to do and how to hold it. And like it's almost like I can't if I went into a machine shop and I had to train somebody, like, and it was the same thing when they were training me. Like they couldn't, like, well, your hands will kind of figure it out, like the particular way you got to hold the part or whatever to sand it, like in this certain way. Like it's just memory muscle. So again, that requires a skilled hand, a lot of hours, and education and working that skill, working that your hands, if you were, and then also there's a lot of liability. Put in with that as well. You know what I mean? Like, you fuck up someone's face with plastic surgery, there's a potential lawsuit. You know what I mean? Like
that's true. But plastic surgery doesn't surprise me that it's on the list because a lot of it, I would assume, is vanity. It's elective surgery. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Barring a few situations where maybe somebody was in a really bad accident or a certain deformity or whatever, a lot of it is elective surgery. And I'd be willing to bet you the highest paid plastic surgeons are probably in places like LA, New York, places where a lot of people make money based on their appearance.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, you go where the market is, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know that. See, this bears the question, I guess, and maybe you should look into this, young John. What is the? Did you say it earlier? What's the average income of a proctologist?
Let's look that up, man. Something tells me they make a buttload of money.
That was a
oh yeah, goodness. Oh, cue the fart noises. Yeah.
Oh man, we are getting highbrow.
Just in case our listeners thought we were starting to get a bit serious and a bit in depth here. Like, no, the toilet humor's still there. Yeah.
Absolutely. As with every proctologist, the toilet humor is still there. Yeah. When we're no, I don't think there was ever any confusion. Like when we were like, hey, let's talk about like what do doctors make, but not just any type of doctors. What are the guys who put their fingers in the butts make? What's that about? What how do they do it, huh?
Well, I'm getting two figures here, and they're pretty different. Either way, they make good money. This one website says the United States average for a proctologist, $290,000 a year. This other website says $480,000 a year. So I don't know, but
okay, that's actually that's still damn good money. Don't get me wrong, but that's I was expecting more, to be honest with you. I was thinking.
What I was thinking. Yeah.
So maybe it is the deeper reasoning behind it. Maybe it is the Turner Classic Television movie of like this guy's got gifted hands that he knows what a polyp feels like.
Just knows how to touch a butt. Like, yeah. Like his hands are so smooth. Like he'll be wrist deep and you won't even know.
He's like the.
Like how we just assume they're awake. It's like, hey, all right, thanks for coming in. I'm going to be reaching up your ass, and you'll be awake the whole time.
What was that movie where I believe it was it Christopher? Like they did a sketch version of it, but I think it was actually based off a movie, and I believe it was starring Chris Walken, where he touched somebody and he could see if like something bad was going to happen in their life, like if they were going to be in danger soon. Like maybe this guy was that version of that.
I feel like that was a movie. Oh yeah, but he has to touch their butt.
Yeah. Exactly.
He's like, I have to touch your butthole to be able to see when you'll die.
Mm-hmm. It is essentially what a proctologist does.
I mean, to some degree.
Point of view, yeah.
I mean, to some degree, he was like, well,
but that's how the modern science works. He just gets a vision.
Yeah. Like eyes rolling back in his head. Like.
It's not a bad sketch, like where both people have the same reaction. One guy because he's got a finger in his butt, and then the doctor because he's having the vision whilst putting his finger.
The one guy's like, as the doctor, and the doctor's basically saying the same thing, but his eyes are like rolling back in his head, and he's convulsing. Like as the visions hit him.
Yeah. And then, of course, at the end, the doctor's just like, I got nothing. You're fine. Just come back for a follow-up visit in a year.
So. On to the next year. So you said a second ago, most of them probably don't have the kink. I can agree with that. But I wonder, does it affect their kinks? Here we go. For example, or maybe not even their kinks, but just their sexual drive in general. Like, let's take a gynecologist, for example. Long day at work, whatever. He comes home. His wife's in the mood. She's putting the moves on him. And he's just like, no, thanks. But like, I just don't want to see another vagina today. Like, I've had enough. Like,
well,
but maybe he's open to something else. I don't know. Like,
maybe if this guy is just really getting swatted left and right with cervixes at work. Again, I'm not. Yeah. I'm not knowledgeable as to
that's your cervix. Yeah.
What his duties are once the ladies are in the stirrups, but I'm pretty sure it's not getting whiplashed by vaginas all day.
I'm just saying, does it affect him being in the mood, or maybe he wants to do other activities? He was like, no, maybe we'll do something else, like,
sexually, you mean?
Yeah. Not just play Xbox.
I was gonna say, yeah, this is the workaround, even if that's a problem. Which, come on, let's face it, it's not. Because it's like, I don't think all vaginas are the same. I want to blow your mind here.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, like, he probably sees all types. I'm just saying, like, does he get burnt out? Is that my point? Like he's got to do what he's got to do because he's at work. But like, does he get home and he was like, no, thanks, baby. I'm just not in the mood. Like, Or can we do it with the lights off? Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm asking the questions here. I'm not saying this happens. I'm just curious. Like, is there some data out there for that?
So, fuck no, probably not. That sounds disturbing. That sounds very alarming if there is.
I would be surprised if some of the
sounds like his sexual partner should not be with that doctor. There's data
I feel like
for that.
Somewhere out there, some of the adult websites probably have in some way, like, the top searches based on like people in the medical profession. And I'd be curious, like, if proctologists look up butt stuff, or if disproportionately they don't look up butt stuff.
You think like their top search for whatever their porn site of their choosing is sex, no butt stuff?
Well, I mean, they probably don't type it like that. They probably but I'm just saying, if like, does that even come into their interests, or is it like they avoid that? Like, they look at other stuff, but not that, whereas maybe somebody else is looking at a lot of butt stuff. And
the mind shudders to think of who this potential somebody could be that's looking at a bunch of butt stuff.
Well, I mean, let's face it. I mean, we've all been on the internet. Let's face it. Like we know it's out there. Like,
keep digging that hole, Sorrels. Keep digging that hole.
You know what? I will. Not until I get answers. That's what I'm about here. That's what this episode is about.
Yeah, you're a regular old metaphorical proctologist.
Yeah, I'm
searching for.
I'm asking the hard questions. I'm trying to get to the bottom of this right here. I'm like an investigative journalist, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Sure, that's what every investigative journalist listening to this is thinking. Like, God, this is.
Yeah, let's put an asterisk by that and have everybody go to the bottom and be like John has no idea what he was talking about. Like, yeah.
If we've turned off any listeners right now, it's definitely investigative journalist for this similar analogy of like, oh, this just reminds me too much of work.
Probably medical professionals too.
I doubt it, man. They're probably laughing their fucking heads off at it.
Yeah, they're sitting there like, there's that one proctologist out there like, he's right. I'm not into that. Like,
he's absolutely right. Keywords, no butt stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Or that one gynecologist is like, man, I've never been more seen in my life. I am burned out when I get home.
Well, okay, so this brings me back to the point I was going to make earlier of like, even if that is an issue, which I don't know, I don't think you see your partner's vagina in every vagina that you're seeing throughout the day if you're a gynecologist, right? I think your partner's vagina is very unique,
Well, and number one, it's attached to your partner, so that counts for sure. Something.
Yeah, and hopefully, unless you are that gynecologist with that kink, you're probably not with her just solely based on the I was gonna say remnants, but that's definitely not the right word. But you're not with her just solely based because you are attracted to her vagina, solely and only her vagina. There are probably other qualities, even and let's keep it crass. Let's keep it sexual. There are probably other attributes to this lady that you like rather than her vagina. Like, I just speaking, and as we love to quote from our favorite movie, Superbad. Ever seen a vagina by itself? Not for me.
I mean, maybe. Yeah. I think you raise a good point. But
and this is,
But
we're
that also
going
kind of
real
raises.
gross here. Yeah. But I was going to say, like, see, again, but also here's where I differ from maybe you in this regard. But like, for me, what the question you're bringing up is like the only thing that I can see within logic is like, oh, you're looking at vaginas all day. Because I have no sense of smell. So maybe now, if would you say that the smell factor of like sense memory, like you smell, if he smelled her vagina, would it just like bring him back to like a bad day at work, almost kind of like a,
I hadn't thought of that.
Almost kind of like to like a doctor who lost a patient in open heart surgery. Like this gynecologist lost a patient to open vagina surgery. Like,
I think we're onto a script right here. We have a tormented character right here.
We sure do. Yeah.
No, that brings up a very good point, because smell is directly linked to memory centers in the brain. So, I mean, it's plausible. Has it happened? I have no idea. I'm not a gynecologist, but
so maybe in that regard, maybe you are onto something in that, because I obviously don't really consider that right away because it doesn't apply to me. Because like I don't like see a vagina. I don't. And that's what I'm saying is like just seeing a vagina doesn't just go like make me go like I need.
Speaking of which, that means if you ever see Sasquatch, your experience may be different, because many reports on people that have had alleged encounters of Sasquatch, they talk about smelling the smell. Like apparently they stink and they have a certain scent about them. So you would not smell the smell.
I would not.
Yeah.
And I love how you you brought the analogy to women's vaginas to smelling like Sasquatch.
That really wasn't an analogy. I was more so just expanding on how smell affects things.
If the mission statement for this podcast was for us to get laid, have we fallen.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean that's kind of like, what was it? The ones in Florida, they called them the skunk ape, and it's because of the scent they had them.
What? Whoa! Back they called what?
There's a term out of from Sasquatch encounters in Florida where they would call them skunk apes, like another term for Sasquatch, and it's due to the smell that they allegedly have.
So Florida is such a shit show that we're positing that they haven't just encountered the smelly Sasquatch. They've encountered multiple, and they're irate about the multiple Sasquatches that we're positing smell like.
Well, I don't think anybody's irate. All I'm saying is that there were Sasquatch encounters down there, and these creatures having a certain smell was part of the people's report, and it gave them a nickname. The nickname, if I can speak, of skunk ape for the Sasquatch.
And I feel like simultaneously, like Florida gets shit on too much, and then yet somehow not enough with this news that you've brought forth to me. Have they considered that you live in a fucking swamp?
Well, yeah, they sometimes call them a swamp ape as well, and so who knows? This could be a subspecies, kind of like you have bear.
Maybe
you've got the grizzly bear, which is a subspecies of the brown bear. So you got but your Alaskan brown bear is a little different versus your Kodiak. That's a subspecies, your Kodiak bear.
Sure.
So maybe they are a subspecies of Sasquatch.
Perhaps the swampy smell, though, that everyone is acknowledging, maybe, just maybe, hear me out, Floridans, maybe that's the fucking swamp?
I mean, that could be, but I think a lot of these people would be used to the swamp. Now, I'm not sitting here arguing whether or not Sasquatch exists. I'm just saying that them smelling a certain way is reported in a number of Sasquatch encounters, and that would just affect your experience if you were to encounter a Sasquatch. That was my original point. You would not smell the smell.
No, I would not. I would not smell the smell of a Sasquatch. I would not smell the smell of anything. I was going to try to make like a Dr. Seuss rhyme, but it just fell flat. So what was the initial point of this that we got drifted off into Sasquatch?
Oh, yeah, we were talking about the smell and how it's linked to memory.
Okay.
And how that may affect doctors. Of course, that could affect proctologists too, because that smells for sure. Like that's the number one thing on the body that probably smells.
Yeah. So maybe that brings you back to the sense memory, and then that turns them off. Sure. However, I was going to bring this back to the the way that certain extremely conservative Mormons go about having sex, right? Like like they put a sheet between them, right?
Huh, okay.
So I mean, I feel like there's definitely there. All they got to do is look at the history of conservative Christian or Islam or whatever conservative religion, and there's probably workarounds for all that, right? If you're if the smell of the sense memory of the vaginal scent has become too much to where you don't want to fornicate with your partner in that way, like surely to keep the love going, perhaps they have gone into butt stuff, and or vice versa,
Yeah.
maybe maybe two male proctologists. There is no top, there is no bottom. Maybe they're just tip to tip.
Honestly, at that point, if you're talking two homosexual proctologists who found each other, I mean, whatever. At that point, like we're talking a ridiculously small percentage right there, and they found
document that. That's
the world. Like
that's script number 2 for our
exactly. That's for the progressive romantic comedy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That it just. All I'm saying is there's a lot of interesting questions that we could go down in rabbit holes on about doctors regarding their specialties. I mean, it has to affect their daily life. I mean, think about people that worked at certain fast food places. Now, I'm not necessarily comparing those things to food, but some people may be like, oh, just the smell of that makes me sick anymore, or I don't want to eat there anymore after working.
Right.
Yeah. Like, it has to affect them in some way, shape, or form.
It is a job, right? Is what you're.
Yeah, it's a job. Is what I'm saying. Like, yeah,
and like anybody who spends too much time at one place, where it's not necessarily like maybe they even like their job, but not everybody wants to be at their job at all the time, even if they like it. I would assume I haven't. I've only had jobs that I really liked. Where I was, not a part of more than a couple weeks or a month at a time, in the film industry. But I would imagine if it's something you have to be there for whatever, contract stipulations, it's got to be similar to like, waiting tables and, having literally, I know that every waiter out in this land can attest to like having nightmares about and the nightmares you were waiting tables and it's just going wrong, like either night before or the night after you got done waiting tables.
Exactly. So listeners, if any of you out there are doctors or know people who are, or would just like to leave your educated opinion, please leave us a voice message. Give us an answer to the question, or if you have additional questions you'd like to hear us talk about, please do so. Like I said, I'm dedicated to getting to the bottom of this issue right here.
Absolutely.
Although I will say not dedicated enough to actually ask any of the doctors that I have to see. So because you gotta, you know. You
don't want to make things weird with your gynecologist.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to make with my gynecologist. Oh, clever. Yeah.
Yeah. But I will add to what you just said there, which that was a great plug in there. Yes, they can absolutely leave us a voice message on the Anchor app, or there's a link on the podcast notes on the summaries. Or they could also write us in a message at bigboyspodspot.com if you're a little bashful about leaving your voice recording. So
please weigh in. I would love to hear what you have to say, especially if you can answer any questions that I have. I'm all ears.
I think John just wants to know whether or not he has cancer. I think this is his long-winded version.
This is my cry for help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey man, whatever gets you the help, okay? This pot ain't calling the kettle black. All right, I want you to know that. You're whatever color you want to be, Mr. Kettle. Just get the help you need.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for making this a safe space.
That's
or something like that.
Yeah. That's why they call me Old Safe Space Brian.
Old Safe Space Brian, they used to call me. Mm-hmm.
He's a
Oh, my
safe
goodness.
space. The safe space, Brian.
Yeah. And then it's like you like winking with your thumb up.
Yeah. I keep the space
Safe.
safe.
I'm accountable for the space.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
And it's like just me dressed like an umpire. And then my nemesis is another umpire named Bad Space Dave
I
or
want a
something.
dangerous space.
Yeah. You're out of here. No, this is a safe space.
It's like, my mortal enemy. Safe Space Brian. He's like, I'm dangerous Space Brian.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you would say is like, you'll never get away with it, dangerous Space Ryan.
Yeah. I here declare this space up. I don't know why I'm getting into like a really shitty Kennedy, but
I have the power. That's what you were sounding like.
oh, was it? I was about to get into more
Like
of a
He-Man.
I declare this space safe
Oh,
for
like,
me.
yeah, the only thing you have to fear is fear itself in this space.
Mhm. Absolutely, the safest of space for the endearing and beautiful. Her name escapes me, but allegedly we had sex
wasn't
many
it-
times. Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah, what was the name? Marilyn Boudreaux or something? I don't know. Can't even get her name right.
Norma Jean, whatever. My secret security services will be in touch with you. Do not call
Yeah,
the house
exactly.
line again.
She asked me to pick up her prescription. If you know how she allegedly died, that's a clever joke. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. Oh, just when I thought we were going off the deep end, you just kicked me over the edge.
Yeah. Uh-huh. That was a joke 60 years in the making.
You really think that's how she went out? It's like, just as she's fading in her last, I just hope somebody finds the time 60 years from now
One
to
of these days,
to make a pun of this. God
somebody's
damn.
gonna be making a joke on a podcast that, you know, believe me, they'll come around.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. They're gonna just make a meal out of 40 minutes of talking about butt stuff, and then
About doctors' weird professions.
and then maybe a poor man's Kennedy impression followed by shitting on my death. Jesus Christ! Well,
What? You were saying it was her last words. That was,
yeah. No, thanks for acknowledging. Yeah, it was a direct quote.
No disrespect to Miss Monroe. That was
Oh, well, since you said no disrespect, I'm sure. That's how
well,
it-
I just want to go ahead and basically cover our bases. But come on, if we can't make jokes about this now, like when can we make jokes about anything? Like,
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah.
I almost wish I didn't, but I do hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It's our hearts go out to Mrs. Monroe. Miss Monroe? Yeah, she wasn't married, was she?
Yeah, I don't think she was. Well, I don't know. I don't think she was married at the time of her death. So yeah.
Yeah. Our hearts go out to her and May and the Artemis. How do you say her last name? She's nominated for an Oscar for playing her. Yeah,
Who?
maybe. Yeah. There was a movie. There's a biopic made about Marilyn Monroe this past year. It's got the woman I just mentioned that I can't pronounce her last name, or it's not coming to me at this time. And it also has Adrian Brody playing another character that's I believe she had a love affair with. And it's just I don't know. I hear well apparently at least if the Academy thinks she did a swell job playing Miss Monroe because she has been nominated for a Oscar. So, kudos to her. And
I'm looking up that actress right now. Wow, the movie was rated NC-17. You don't see that often.
oh wow, yeah, I didn't realize that either.
Yeah, Blonde is the name of the movie.
Yeah. Which I guess they could probably get because I don't really recall it going to. It wasn't like a Netflix movie that went to theaters, or if it did, I'm sure it was just a select number.
Oh,
actually,
Anna De Armas. That's okay. I didn't hear what you said. Yeah. Okay, yeah. She
I
did
definitely said it wrong.
stuff
Anna
lately,
De Armas.
like, her career's really been going up. Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually got to backtrack that statement because I believe the stipulations are if you were to get if your movie is to get nominated for an Academy Award, it has to open up in at least a certain number of theaters. So it had to at least have like a select run opening.
That's true. It could have had that. There also could have been like maybe an R-rated cut that went to theaters.
Perhaps, yeah. Perhaps.
Of course, I don't know. This day and age, like people are getting more accepted of like edgy films and independent films even. So maybe it did.
Well, did you ever see that Matthew McConaughey Killer Joe movie?
I did. Yeah. And the theatrical one. Yeah, right here. Okay, sorry. Hold on. Two things are going through my head at the time.
Neither of them are the fact that we're recording a podcast. But go ahead.
Well, I'm weighing in on what we're talking about. So yeah, it had a limited theatrical release in the United States on September 16, 2022. Oh, I can't even talk today. September 16th, 2022, before its streaming release by Netflix. So yeah, basically they basically are just checking the boxes for Oscars. Like, okay, well.
Yeah. Well, I think NC-17 gets a bad rap because it's certainly not an X rating. You know, X rating is pornography. But like
that's triple X. Yeah. NC-17 replaced the X.
Does it?
X used to be above R back in the day, and I don't know when they redid that in the 90s or something like that. But NC-17 replaced it.
Well, then this bears the question, what makes a 2X film? And then also bears the other question, what makes the major leagues?
That, you know what, your 2X question is a very good point. We're going to see right now, is there such a thing as a 2X film?
Yeah.
Okay, well, first thing, there was a movie called XX in 2017, a horror film.
Okay.
But
that probably just pertains to chromosomes, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, now this is, I want to put the asterisk here that this is from Quora, so it's just an answer from someone else. No, nothing official here, but it says, there is no actual MPAA rating XX. The official ratings are G, PG, PG-13, R, and NC-17. So usually ratings consisting of one or multiple X's are applied to adult films or exploitation films. There's no such rating as X. I know there used to be an X rating, though. And I want to say the connotation with triple X being adult films is that was kind of a marketing thing.
That's what I was just about to ask.
Yeah, like above R. And so they were marketing theirs as like, oh, well, if that's X, this is triple X. Like, oh,
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So would an X-rated movie back in the day then, because, you know, adult films used to have their own theaters, like would a John Holmes movie back in the day, would that constitute as an X rating?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. See, because now I was going to say that NC-17 definitely gets a bad rap in today's standards, I would think, because like the thing that got that movie I was referring to earlier, Killer Joe, that got that an NC-17 rating was just the way that Matthew McConaughey shoves a chicken wing down. What's that actress's name? Gina. God, I can't think of her name. Gina. I apologize, Gina. I'm going to say your name wrong. Gina Gerwitz, whatever. Anyways, it's just that like he does it in a sexual manner, but it's a fucking chicken wing. So it's
the crazy thing is if you look at the differences and you bring it up, I looked it up before. The differences between the R and the X cut are tiny. It's like a second here, and it's like, oh, in the R version it cuts to here, but in the NC-17 version it like cuts back to this one more time for like 2 seconds, and then cuts like you almost wouldn't even know the difference unless you just watched them side by side.
Well, the only thing I'll say is that, like, yeah, it's clearly a way more intense scene, the NC-17 version of it, because I mean, he's positing like in a very threatening manner, like this chicken wing is like his, an affectation. That's not what the fuck am I trying to say? An affectation of his penis. You know what I mean? Like, and like that he's got, he's basically what's under the surface is that
NC-17 almost, maybe this is just how culture has changed. I don't know what that was, but I could be wrong on this. Most of the time when you see an NC-17 movie, it seems to be for sexual nature in some way, shape, or form. But I know a lot of old like movies back in the day well, I say pre-1990, that's when they replaced the rating with NC-17. A lot of that was due to violence. Like, I'm looking at a list right here since we're on the subject. Now, most of these movies, they either appealed the MPAA for an R or they managed to recut it in some way. But like RoboCop 1987 originally was given an X.
Oh yeah.
So it's he had to edit out violence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same with like Total Recall on the list for violence. They had to like re-edit to get an R rating. Nightmare on Elm Street, The Evil Dead.
It's crazy.
Evil Dead 2. Yeah.
This is where like the studio, I mean, it went so wrong with all the different remakes, but those two particularly that you just mentioned, it's just baffling, the idea of RoboCop or Total Recall as a fucking PG-13 movie. Like, that's like, as a fan, like that's clearly what I go and watch RoboCop for, is the gratuitous, or Total Recall is the gratuitous violence and you know, like the squibs and you know, prosthetics blowing up and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't that like, well, this is such a futuristic movie. Like, this could be, you know, it's fun. You know what I mean? And you take out that fun element of it, and it's just, I don't know. It's nothing. It's definitely nothing. Well, that's the other thing. Obviously, it's a fucking remake, so nothing's new about any of it. But it's just like you took out the one thing that like everyone loved. I don't know. Just Hollywood gets it right sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes Hollywood gets it wrong.
Yeah. Oh, they get it wrong a lot. Like, like sometimes you see certain things in movies that it's like a simple Google search could have told you that was wrong. Like, there was an article I read a while back that was interesting. It was talking about like, it might have been a show. It was something, I can't remember what it was, but it was basically talking about like how far away they are and from Earth. They would like in space, and it was like they're, you know, X thousand or many thousand meter, you know, miles from Earth or whatever. And they were like, that's not as far as Voyager that was launched in the 70s has gone. And it's like, sure, we get it. Voyager's been going a long time, but it just kind of takes a little bit of wind out of the sails when like this futuristic space mission is like outpaced by technology from the 70s.
So I gotta assume that this movie you're referring to is like a newer movie where they could have easily done a Google search whilst.
Yeah.
You know, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
This was. Yeah. I read this article several years ago, but it was like well into the time of like you could have just done a simple internet search for like how far, you know, like spaceships and things have traveled. And that would literally be as simple. You don't even have to change your story. That would literally be as simple as like, oh, we just need to make this number bigger to sound
more credible for sure. Yeah.
I mean, I get it. It's fantasy. It's sci-fi. You really shouldn't be looking into it that much. But at the same time, like if you want to make it sound impressive, sound impressive. See,
for me, that's where the genre of fantasy and sci-fi differs. That's why I dig more of sci-fi. I think is that unless it's, you know, in the vein of RoboCop where it's just fucking ridiculous, and I love it because it's ridiculous. Like a good sci-fi movie is positing something that could be in the future, you know, and it uses statistics, you know, or something that you could find from a simple Google search.
Well, that's
versus
sci-fi originally started.
Yeah, versus something like in fantasy, like where I just never really got into the Lord of the Rings or the Harry Potter or stuff like that, because it's just like, it's just anyone, like there is no research to posit this to back this up. It's just anyone can use the powers of imagination.
Well, a lot of that is like, it's literally, like you said, fantasy, because it's like magic. And, you know, it's not as like science-based. But yeah, originally sci-fi, that's like kind of what it started out as, like that, it's in the name, science fiction. It was kind of like original Star Trek, where it was like kind of explained in there. You know, it was supposed to some degree maybe seem plausible in some way. They kind of had an explanation for it, but a lot of that's just been thrown out the window anymore. Like, well,
I don't know. I also would argue that sci-fi is better than fantasy. There, I said it, because also a lot of the new stuff that we have in scientific world has been influenced by science fiction. There, I said it. Take it, all you fantasy dweebs.
I mean, that's completely true. Like, Star Trek's another great example. Like, things from that have influenced, like, real science, like flip phones. like were kind of influenced from the transponders they had.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm a huge Star Trek fan, you know, I prefer the wars really more,
but you are a huge flip phone fan. That's
yeah. Still to this day, I never let go of the flip phone.
yeah.
I'm all about that Motorola Razr, which I guess they brought back, so I guess that is relevant again.
And what, it's got a touchscreen now, I guess.
Yeah, and they've got flip phones now too. Like, well, I think the new Razr does. It's basically the technology's there, man. We can have a folding screen. We truly are living in the 21st century.
My God.
And we're right up there now with Buck Rogers and, you know, Dr. Theophilus. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Dude, I was looking up something on the apps and on the app store on the iPhone setting, and as you were saying, because you were just kind of referencing Zach and Miri make a porno there, weren't you?
Yeah. I mean, that is a real character from Buck Rogers, but yeah.
Yeah, but
speaking of sci-fi,
you know, I just got done deleting all the dating apps and stuff off my phone because I've found them to be. It's very distracting, and it's well, that pretty much says it right there. It's all very distracting.
Very distracting, and let's face it, it's hard out there, you know.
Yeah, especially for a pimp. But one of them,
got to get your hustle and flow on.
Yeah, but like, you know, if you continue scrolling down like through all the different dating apps, it just kind of goes to whatever is relevant, and like, I hesitate to posit this question, but like are any women actually using this thing? But there's like multiple apps that are positing of ways that people can use their phone as a vibrator.
Whoa, goodness. Okay, I wasn't expecting that. You kind of pulled me back here. Like,
yeah, I wasn't expecting that either. I was like, what? And it just kept endlessly scrolling, dude. I was like, not only has this idea been posited, but it has clearly been done so again and again and again. And you know, they're all Buck Rogers, you know, testing and improving, I guess, upon you know, upon what we can use our devices for.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good point. If you think about it, it's like go back and tell yourself in like 1991, like, you know, don't worry, one of these days it'll literally be right in your pocket, like. Yeah.
In your other pocket.
Or like the original iPhone ad when he was talking about it. It's like six devices in one.
Gynecologist's best joke when talking about these vibrator. What is that?
The gynecologist sitting there just being like, "You got a phone, don't you?"
Yeah. Did you just hear that? There was like a beep thing. Like, is that only on my end?
I didn't hear it.
Oh, okay.
The video kind of like froze up there for a second, but.
Oh, I guess it sounded like somebody was like calling us or something. It was like one of those kind of rings.
I don't know.
It stopped. Yeah. Anyways, well, now that we've gone into just full swing grossness, I'd say it's about time to wrap it up, man.
Yeah, this has been, you know, this is weird. On one hand, this has simultaneously, I think, been our most I'm very hesitant to use the word intelligent, but the most like
yeah, as you should be.
Yeah, the most like I guess in depth, like instead of just talking and goofing around, like, well, let's goofing around, I should say, like actual like discussion oriented podcast. But at the same time, we still really got some potty humor in there, you know, and I'm proud of that.
I'm glad that you're proud of both parts, you know.
Yeah.
As am I. I'm glad that we were able to do that as well. Yeah, tomorrow is going to be a big day for me. I gotta get a hold of these. I now have the not the probation office, but the volunteer center where I'll be doing my community service. And I don't know if, like, I don't think this is a thing in Texas. If someone was willing to correct me, I'm all ears. But did you know that you have to pay to do community service?
I did not know that.
Not only do I have to pay, John, I have to pay based on the amount of hours of community service that I have to provide for my community.
But what do you mean pay? Like,
I mean, I'm looking at my screen here, and there's a fee based on how many hours of community service you have to do. And which, by the way, I called and got a voice recording, and this pay rate that you have to make is completely false. It's actually more. I got to pay $100 to do 480 hours of community service. I have to pay to work for them.
Well, are you sure this isn't just like a fine? Like your punishment is like pay this fine and do community service?
I mean, it could be. It's more comforting if I look at it that way, but no, it's not. That's not how it says fee. It is not. It is not a fine by the court or anything. I had that all listed out. It's just totally separate than that.
So you have to pay this company to do the community service for them?
Yeah.
That is a racket. Wait a minute. So you're not doing this community service as I'm confused. Who is this? Because now most of the people I know, now I guess they've been for lesser charges. Most of the people that I've talked to did community service. It was for something like Goodwill or something like that. They volunteered at Goodwill as community service hours. Yeah. So what's weird is, like, I don't know, maybe I'll figure out more about it, but like this could also just be an LA thing. But like in particular with the Santa Monica probation office that I'm working with here, I don't know, this paperwork is very confusing. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. But apparently there's different branches, and I've been assigned to the Airport Branch Court LAX division, and I have a case number there. And yeah, it's I don't get it, because yeah, it's nothing that the courts, it's not a fine that the courts put in the plea deal. It's totally something different. But whatever, it's $100. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's
480 hours of my life. I just got to get it done.
Is there not some other place you could do community service, like for example, a Goodwill, or like, I don't know, picking up trash or something?
So here's the thing, man. This is just the office. I think, like, basically what I'm doing is what I'm paying for, actually, now that I think about it, is the slip that these other places that you just mentioned I could probably go to and do community service there, but they would probably have to sign this slip. So essentially what I'm paying for actually is the slip that I would be turning back into them.
$100 for a slip. Wow, that's a racket.
Mm-hmm. What would be great is if this place wasn't called like the volunteer center, if it was just like some other kind of acronym for mob or mafia.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we're the legitimate business guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Like it's this place that's called like Manual Operations and Businesses.
That seems a little suspect.
Yeah. Guy on the phone sounded like Joe Pesci, but I'm sure he's trustworthy.
Yeah, don't worry. Yeah. I mean, he just cursed me out on the phone, told me he'd kill me, but okay.
Yeah. You think this is funny? How?
Yeah. Tell me how it's funny.
Yeah. It's funny.
Like a clown?
Yeah. Can I do that for community service, Mr. Pesci? I will put on the red nose. All right. Well, with that, I think I think we're at about approximately. It's a little harder to tell with this one because we tinkered around with technical stuff, but I think we're about an hour.
We're pretty close. We're at about an hour and 15, and we could probably cut off the first 15 to 20 minutes. So we're pretty close.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's call it, man. It's a good catch up. I'll catch up with
like
you.
I said, next one we do, I'm going to start trying to keep a list of subjects to talk about because I think that would be a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, man. I dig it.
All right. All right.
All right. Well, we'll
That
catch
being
you soon,
said,
buddy.
one last time, if any of you viewers out there would like to leave us some correspondence about something you would like to hear us discuss, please, by all means, we would love to weigh in.
Yep. Links are going to be in the description of this podcast episode. Find us on the Anchor app or at bigboyspodspot.com.
Or on Instagram.
Yep, that too.
Okay.
All right, man.
All right.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. This episode of the Big Boys Podcast is brought to you by Anchor. Anchor is a great platform and has all the tools you need to create a perfect podcast.
Well, how about that for an episode, dear listener? Old John Boy surprised us all, bringing a little bit of format to the show, which I didn't see it within him, but hey, I'm super proud of the guy. He brought us what we needed, and the man is becoming more dependable each day. I just can't count my praises enough. And I'm looking forward to finding out what the subject is going to be next week. I dig this style of format that we're doing here. That I get to put some of my many paid-for improv classes to work. John, forever the persistent questioner, and my diuretic mouth finally coming together, forging the sword of the Big Boys Podcast. I knew we would figure out a format here in due time, and we certainly appreciate you sticking around, putting in the work with us, dear listener. This is like the long-winded breath if Seinfeld was a podcast and did absolutely no writing and had half the talent and a quarter of the success rate. That is what our podcast is. And we're so glad, we're so excited, so enamored, and yet so humble to have you along the ride with us. Oh, how we look forward to the days ahead as we keep going forth and we figure out new segments that we'll be doing with our podcast. Obviously, we'll be having our opening catch-up and then, little quips of what's going on with my life in regards to probation and the AA program. I have a lot of things going off in that regard. Right now, let me hold back there. Let me get a final result on the things that I almost talked about before I talk about them. I think that would be the smart thing to do. I think that would be what my overpriced lawyer would say to me in a situation like this. Either that or he would say something along the lines of, "Who are you again? And can you tell the judge that I'm going to be an hour late?" Love that law office. Definitely worth every 2 pennies I am going to continue to pay them, apparently. But hey, such is life, dear listener. Such is the way of life. And we shall all march on with time. Left foot, right foot. Time shall march on. And so shall the Bry Guy and the John John. And we thank you for sticking around with us. And as always, I'd like to say in closing, Como se llama hermana? Lo siento palapinto. Good night to all of my fellow North Texans out there. And adieu to all of my fine Los Angelinos. Good night to you all, world. We shall catch up with you next week on another episode of the Big Boys Podcast.
Big Boys is a podcast produced by Not So Funny or Proud Productions. The team consists of co-hosts, co-producers, and co-editors Brian Hickey and John Sorrells, better known as John the Great. For more information about the duo or this show, please visit us at bigboyspodspot.com. Or feel free to take a gander at our production page, notsofunnyorproud.com. Look us up on social media and follow us at Big Boys Podspot. New episodes drop every Thursday on every popular podcast hosting platform known to man. So please be sure to like, subscribe, vibe, describe, contrive, confide, collide, abide, preside, tell your tribe, and most importantly, do prescribe. Me an elixir for talking out the side of my neck.